the OBs and OGs of Brilliant High School Kawempe. Call him their former speaker, prefect for information, and as well as the head boy. Makerere University journalist. Call him the former projects coordinator at the School of Languages, Literature and Communication. Last semester, he was incarcerated for fabricated charges about the death of Mr. Bewate Betungula. Ladies and gentlemen, the Makererians call him the newly elected, the appointed fresh minister for information, research and technology in the Makerere University Geordie cabinet. This is none other than Mr. Kabura Muzaffar. Sir, you are most welcome to the Competency Media. We thank you for having given us this courtesy visit at our studios. Can you say hello to our listeners?
Hello, the listeners of Competency Media. As earlier mentioned, my name is Kabura Muzaffar, the 88th Guild Minister for Research, Information and Computer Technology. And I'm glad to be here once again on Competency Media. I think this is my second time being here with you.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is great being here with you guys.
Okay, thank you so much for that brief introduction. I don't know whether it is the Competency Media that has invited you or it is you who has invited us into your office. But anyway, Honorable Minister, one, I just want to congratulate you upon such a high-profile job you attend in Makerere University Politics. I know it was out of concerted efforts that you put in to attain such an appointment. We wish you success. So before we go into our topics of discussion, because today we want to scrutinize, want to look into the nitty-gritty of the newly appointed cabinet of Mr. Alionzi Dangote. And then secondly, we shall be looking into the new good Makerere University statute, and we want to see how is it related to the new leadership that was recently appointed. But before we go into that, Mr. Kabura Muzaffar, I want to tell you that this is the intellectual buffet, whereby we bring new people, we bring across intellectuals, the political demagogues, economic demagogues, and people in the society to briefly discuss with us. So I want you to tell us, what do you, before we go into the cabinet, what are some of the factors that made you actually to receive, I call it a landslide defeat, or Maginani Mass lose in the university election that you were contesting as a chairman at the choose? Why did you lose such an election in a brutal manner anyway?
It is true that indeed I got into that race aspiring for the chairperson for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. But it is evident from what came out from the Electoral Commission that the numbers did not add up for me. They were not good for me to go through as the chairperson for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Normally, there is this time you're in as a contender in an elected position whereby you lose and you start throwing blame games to each and everyone for those who did not put in much efforts and other stuff. But personally, I prefer to say that's what I was destined for. In that particular position, I did not go through. Maybe God had planned something big for me. I won't blame anyone for not voting for me. And as you say, I just lost by just a few votes, less than 100 votes. But I just want to thank my voters. At least the more than 600 voters turned up to vote for me. When you equate the number to the one that won, who was in 700, it is not a very big gap. So I just applaud the comrades of the mighty College of Humanities and Social Sciences. You made your choice, but as I've always said, that I'm up for grabs always to come and get in touch with you guys. If at all there is something you want to push as long as it's for the students' cause. I'll always be there.
Honorable Minister, still on that point, according to the interview seen by Competency Media, you actually made with the Uganda Radio Network. I think it works hand in hand with the independent online newspaper. You said that, actually, let me get the statement. You said that I'm really discouraged by the whole process. Many of my supporters have failed to access the portal, and some are being told that they finished voting already. So they said that humbled and scared Muzaffar said. So what's your comment about such a rhetorical statement?
Yeah, it is true. You always know when political tensions are high. I got that interview from a journalist, Sewan Fahadi. Yeah, he's a former student here at the College of Humanities. He called me in the middle of
during the process.
Yeah, during the process.
Right.
And it was too evident for any sober Machiavellian. They realized that indeed the process was unfair with the fact that there was a lot of traffic, and it reached a time, and most of my voters from the School of Languages, Literature and Communication failed to vote. But
before, how do you determine that the people who failed to access your portal, they were really your voters? Because according to me, I think it was a win-win situation. Your opponent lost the voters, at the same time you also lost. How do you say that really these were your actual voters and they failed to vote?
Your voter will call you.
Okay.
At any cost. Your voter will call you and tell you that, you know what, I failed to vote for you.
So that was the case.
But practically, me as a person, for those who are at my call center, can attest to this, that we had almost 30 people who failed to vote. Almost 30 people, even more than 30 people. And by the time it clocked to 4, we tried our level best to see to it that these people vote, but all in vain. And the process ended minus them voting. These are people I can note one by one and say that so and so did not vote, and he told me he did not vote because he failed to access the system.
So this had the repercussion or the ramification about the declared results on you basically?
Of course it had. Of course it had. But I cannot maybe justify the failure by saying that people who did not vote maybe led to my failure.
Because there was a time we said that maybe they had just a minor repercussion and they couldn't change the outcome of the results, however much they were really your supporters.
It was not minor. It was not minor. Because if at all I managed to get like more than 30 people telling me that they can't vote, what about the other 100? What about the other 200 that cannot reach out to me to tell me that they have not voted?
Okay.
So the system we ran into for the 88 guild elections was unfair to a point that me personally, to vote for myself very early in the morning, I had to try for more than 5 times to vote for myself. What do you explain to a common Machiavellian who is at home, the comfort of their bed, to struggle with this network for more than 10 times to vote?
So the system also had challenges.
It had a lot of challenges. It had a lot of challenges.
So should we continue with the system or we make some modifications? Because I think in this new world, we need to deal with online system. If at all we have to progress and catch up with the international world. So what should we do to make it somehow had a positive impact in the elections of Makerere University?
Yeah, I'm one of the people who believe in technological advancement.
Yes.
And I'm still one of the people who believe in innovation. And also, when precedents are set, I'm a scholar of history.
Yes, please.
Who reads what was in the past, compare it with the present, and also the future.
Yes.
Just from what we had recently, previously in the COVID-19, it showed us how Uganda as a country was backward in technological advancement. And this beat us to the bone. That if COVID-19 found us in a situation whereby we were already in the know of how to study online, it would be a walkover. We would not sit down for more than a year to catch up with the education system. So I believe in technological advancement,
so
but on condition that when you subject yourself to an online system or technologically advancing yourself to a system very critical, like an election,
yes,
you have to ensure that it is perfect. You have to ensure that it is perfect. You just don't run into exhibiting an online system because you're in the guise of erasing violence or erasing the inconsistencies that come with the physical election. Adopt to the system. You're ready to run,
before I
Freely
continue,
and fairly.
I think their target was fulfilled because I think basically they were fighting about this violence, the hooliganism we usually see during the physical election, and did not witness it anywhere. So I think their target was fulfilled.
But you see, that is not the way we solve problems. we don't solve problems by just ditching them. You get a problem, look for a solution that is applicable. So you cannot tell me that because you put up an online election, you succeeded in erasing violence. Who tells you that?
Of course, did you witness it anywhere?
Let me tell you, the violence or the urges of the Makerelians to advocate for what is rightfully theirs will always surface. They should not take the silence of the garant intellectuals during elections that to be an acceptance of the system. People are dissatisfied, and when the time reaches,
but we can deal with those ones within the due course. We can deal with those inconsistencies. Don't you think we progress somewhere somehow? Because me, what I want you to do, I want you to first appreciate that we progress somewhere somehow.
I do appreciate.
So we can deal about the challenges that we surfaced during the elections.
I do appreciate.
Thank you.
But it gets to a point where I would support them if this was a gradual process. You start from the small positions that attract lesser numbers from the electorate until you go to the big numbers. But you can't subject Makerere University of over 40,000 students to an online system which is fully for all the electorate.
Okay.
You cannot, even before you test it on the small numbers to see what inconsistencies are in.
Okay, Mr. Honorable, I know we can take a lot of hours debating about the online system at Makerere University. But probably thank you so much for that submission. So let us go into the actual debate. I know you are appointed as Honorable Minister for Information, Research and Technology. So I want you to tell me, how do you judge your appointment? Is it based on conversation for having made the laws during the elections? Is it a reward? Well, I've been with Mr. Arions during the campaigns. How should we say it? Is it based on competence, intellectual adequacy? So what is your view about your appointment in this cabinet?
I believe that if you're vouching for being somewhere as a person, there are certain things you have to do. Put yourself in a position whereby people can see you and realize that that is Muzaffaru and is doing something in relation to this. Ever since I came here at Makerere University in my first year, I started practicing journalism. For I do a bachelor's in journalism and communication. I opened up a YouTube channel. I started writing for the website of the journalism and communication website at SLLC. I've been conducting Twitter spaces.
So you were putting yourself
and for God's sake, I'm hosting one of the famously known Twitter spaces at Makerere here and in Uganda, which is called Out of the Box. So when you're considering who you can put in a position for information, research and computer technology, names like Kabura Muzaffaru cannot fail to cross your minds.
Always it appears on the list.
It appears on the list. So for me personally, I would attach my appointment to the abilities I have as a person, because I've been at the helm of dissemination of information and also creating platforms for intellectual discourse in this field of the gallant intellectuals.
Yes.
So for His Excellency Alionzi Lawrence to put me into a position,
yes,
it can definitely not be out of friendship or something, because the theme of this government is restoring relevance to the Students' Guild.
Okay.
So if you put a one Muzaffaru who can hardly communicate to the students, how do you then intend to restore relevance to the guild? So personally, I believe my abilities, I position myself better. I put myself in a position
where you can be
where I can be seen and considered, and I've been working in these pathways of information, and people have seen and appreciated.
Okay.
So I'm just glad that I got an appointment from His Excellency, the 88th Youth President of Makerere University, Alionzi Lawrence, alias Dangote.
Okay. You made an interview, I think it is a year ago, where you appearing on your platform, Ottawa Digest Media. You said that when usually appointments are being made, they follow two categories. There is the informal one and the formal one. So I want you to tell me which method did your Guild president adopt for the entire cabinet and you personally? What do you make of the entire cabinet where you belong?
Really, if I give you this explanation, someone might think I'm politicking.
Okay.
But to give you a honest view in regard to the question you have asked, the appointment His Excellency Alionzi made were out of credibility, were out of competence, and were out of consideration, inclusivity, and also balance. I can give you a task as a journalist to go and have an interview from any minister and ask them, or you go into your archives and check for me where you saw the Ministry for Security shaking shoulders with the president. He singled him out because he was credible, he was competent enough to take up that position. So the informal way of friendship,
you know,
connections and stuff. No.
So it did not appear.
That was not in the picture. These are people that President himself had a nodding acquaintance, but he put them there because they were competent and credible enough to take up those positions.
So it was based on competence?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. So still at some point, I was trying to go through your entire cabinet, and I noticed that you having only one lady into the cabinet, the Vice Guild President, Madam Natalie Margaret. And if you try to look at the new Guild statute, I think it tried to see that there is gender inclusiveness in leadership of Makerere University. And we all know the role of a Vice President. It is more of titular, it is ceremonial. So that means the ladies of Makerere University are not represented anywhere into your cabinet. So you want to tell me that incompetent, or but what really caused that drastic appointment into your cabinet?
For the first bunch, it is true that there was one lady, but that was just half of the list. I think there were something like eight to 7 ministries that were announced. The full cabinet has to be having 15 positions, and the rest of the positions have not yet been announced. So I just want to keep the audience of the Pundits media hopefully waiting for the second list.
So the entire cabinet is not really announced.
It's not yet fully constituted. You're going to see the ladies are there.
So should we expect gender balance within it?
Of course, gender balance has to surface.
Don't try to eat your words.
Man, how can you have just one lady on a cabinet?
I'm also wondering.
That is not feasible and practical.
Okay.
Of course, the ladies will have to surface.
Okay, let us keep waiting. I shall be back and then you'll be maybe talking other things. But you have said that the cabinet has 15 ministers.
Yeah.
So according to your opinion, do you think that we need all these positions if at all we want to regulate the new capital expenditure with the cabinet? Because I was trying to go through some positions. To me, they seemed irrelevant. Or we need to amalgamate some of the positions if we are told we have to reduce the expenditure. For instance, I saw a position of Minister of Production, Employment. So my question is employing the whole? I saw the Minister, I saw off-campus Minister. So I think we can maybe amalgamate or merge these ministries if at all we want to reduce that expenditure. What is your view about that?
First of all, I would want to distance myself from equating the number of ministries to the expenditure. I was saying it should be less because the expenditure is a lot. For God's sake, we pay more than 13,000 on functional fees for the student guild fee. And when you calculate that to the estimate of the amount of the Makererians, it can equate to something like 2 billion. But we only get 5%. And that is not more than, I think, something like 328 million out of the 2 billion. So these ministries are even spending less money I know of a ministry, was it of culture in the 87th Guild, by the lady was given totally nothing. She had projects in her docket.
So what went wrong?
She received totally nothing. And this is the model. Always ministries have made their budgets and they have been cut. You understand?
Yes.
So I would first of all not equate myself to a conversation whereby the amount of ministries is irrelevant because they are spending a lot of money. But I would rather concur with you when you say that some ministries, the agents of some ministries could be merged, which has been evident in the new enacted, in the new statute. The Guild Constitution we have has not yet been gazetted as of now, but we just have a final draft of it. When you look into that constitution which has guided the president in formulating his cabinet, you realize that some ministries have been merged. I personally, my ministry has been merged. Recently we had a ministry of ICT, but right now it has been merged with the research, information and computer technology.
Yes.
When you look at the Ministry of Social Affairs, it has been merged with the Ministry of Culture. They all fall under the same docket. So this is, it then calls for a big task for the minister himself to execute and see to it that they travel through all these sectors under the ministries they have been assigned to. So what I just believe is, if at all the ministers have various activities and projects they want to pursue in their various ministries, and they are really supportive of the students' cause, let the money be available. There is no reason as to why I would vouch for a project of 10 million and I receive 4 million.
Okay,
if my reasons are justified enough and they are not political, for someone to be bashing me on grudges in this political vicinity or something, but if you have something that is good for the students' community at large, it really deserves an ear and a hand.
So what I've picked from what you're saying, so there is a need, if at all we can amalgamate these ministries.
They have already been amalgamated.
Okay.
Yes.
So we don't need any further amalgamation.
You know, times change. The urgency matters.
Okay.
If at all there is any need, it will realize, and we see that indeed this needs to be incorporated in this.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to thank you for that submission. Our dear viewers, wherever you are on Competency Media, my name is Joey Johnny Vianney, and I'm moderating straight away from the Guild office, you know. So we thank you for being with us. This is the Intellectual Buffet, hashtag KJV on it. So as we proceed looking into your docket, Mr. Honorable, I saw among your laws that you are responsible for any publication, official publication of concerning the Guild House using the across different Guild media platforms. But I want you to tell me, what are those broad platforms apart from your social media handles? What are the specific platforms for the Guild cabinet or the Guild House?
First of all, to shed the light with the question you have asked me,
yes.
I would like to first inform the listeners of Competency Media that my ministry not only lies in the dissemination of information, but it goes beyond that to other sectors of research, computer technology. So, whereas I have to ensure that the Guild itself, I have to ensure that the Guild, the visibility of the Guild comes to the eye of the gallant intellectuals. Yes. That aside works in a lot of sectors. As I told you when I was previously trying to give you a preamble, that personally I embrace technology. And when you look at what we have as per now, is that many people have adopted to the social media platforms. You see the president of Uganda himself at times passes on communications through his Twitter handle. So it is just prudent that we also, as the Students Guild, have our various platforms. It might be Facebook, it might be Twitter, it might be a website, and these contribute a lot to our visibility and also promote the inclusivity of the Machiavellian in knowing what the Guild is really doing. But also on the side of the computer technology and also research, there is also insurance. As a minister, I have to do in ensuring that I bridge a gap between the transformation from the traditional ways of doing things to the modern ways of doing things. And since we are in the modern era, I am in a situation whereby I should find ways of promoting the innovativeness and also the research skills students who are pursuing computer technology and also the gallant intellectuals.
How are you going to implement that?
This.
How are you going to implement it?
It can be through various things. You know, we have just, here we call them the 90 days of action. But I believe as a minister, for what is in my capacity, I will execute. But for the demands or for some of the issues that are itching in the audience, first of all is about the safety of the gallant intellectuals in using these technological advancement platforms. You realize we are always insecure when we're using these platforms. People's phones have always been hacked. We have always gotten technical glitches. We have always faced a lot of calamities when we're using these platforms. So personally, first of all, my aim would be at making known of how one can make themselves secure on the net. And this might be in ensuring the cyber security awareness, whereby someone knows that if I do this, it might land me into this technologically. But also away from that, there are a lot of opportunities in the circle of the computer technology, things we can innovate to see to it that people benefit out of them. Yes. Recently, I was heading the publicity and media team of the Swedish Uganda project of innovation, when they were teaching the students who do sciences, technology, economics and mathematics about how they can innovate themselves into knowing how to benefit, how to monetize the 5G network.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kampura Zafar, but I know journalists out there, they're very happy because they're having a clue person to respond to our demands. You know, we have been surfacing with the problem of the defunct, or we can say even the dead radio station, our campus radio. It is not functioning, but right now we are having a clue representative from the School of Languages, Literature and Communication. What should we expect? Should we even expect a television or the revival of the defunct radio station?
On that issue, we have spent a lot of time as having a center for practice of journalism. And as you have heard, some lecturers always put it up straight, that their role is just to give us skills and then we can look for where to practice them from. So first of all, I have a belief that as students of journalism and communication, and also all the gallant intellectuals who have interest in journalism, let me put it in a docket of citizen journalism, really should have that platform to practice. Recently, you know what led to the closure of our radio when we lost our frequency. It was a quarrel between whether they should pay for the tax or not, and lecturers were claiming that indeed this is a training ground, and so there is no need. It's not profit oriented. Yes. But previously, there were efforts from the Ministry of Education to revive the radio itself. So personally, I believe I will start following up and see how we get that faster, to bring it to the students. But I would urge the students themselves that as we struggle to get the radio back, there are very many platforms they can be using. Personally, to come where I am, I explained to you, I used YouTube in the first place, and it has put me somewhere. You can go and follow up. It is called the Ultra Digest Media. You can just use these platforms just at the comfort of your phone. Get your phone, record your video, and continue. As we pursue the path of reviving the radio, you can as well use the social media platforms.
Okay. I remember last week I was actually I had an interview with the KRC at the School of Languages and Communication, Mr. Masauka Robert, but he was like, we should do. It's the high time for us to accept, to allow the fourth estate into the Judy house. And I think you are the right person to ask you this question. What's your view? What's your comment about accepting the journalists into the Judy house and the cabinet?
Yeah,
is it applicable?
It is applicable. It is applicable because as I told you, that one of the things I intend to do, or that are assigned to me by the Constitution in Chapter 5, is ensuring that the information is disseminated to the gallant intellectuals. The students out there need to know what we are talking about. And personally, I started that path, pursuing that path in the 87th. I used to make contacts to the 87th Information Minister, and I was telling him that it is prudent that you have journalists in the house to at least record those sessions. If you cannot afford to have them in the house, at least get a camera personnel to record these things, and at least they get a platform where they can put these sessions. But that is one of the things I'm going to start chasing on, to see that at least we can get the journalists in the house, to see how maybe they can disseminate information to the other journalists. We can at least get a limited number of like 3 journalists in the house, and maybe they disseminate information to the others. So
is it that it is the Constitution that doesn't allow us into the Jude? What is it?
It doesn't talk about it.
It doesn't talk about it?
Yes.
So we are going to make sure that we have it. Okay, all right. We are going to be having a short break, and then we shall be back later. Thank you so much. We are back from that short commercial break. I'm still with Right Honorable Mr. Kabula Muzaffar, the newly and fresh Minister for Information, Research and Technology. We are live on the intellectual buffet, straight away from the Jude offices. So, Mr. Kabula Muzaffar, I want your comment about the GFE period you have to execute demand. You know, you're having a lot of work to do. You need to reach the students' demand. The people who put you in the office are demanding for service. But we're saying that you're having a very limited time. Actually, they're not even 100 days. And people always talk about in 100 days, I'll be doing this and this. So how are you going to make it? Will it be enough, or the blame will be put on time that you have in office?
As the 88th government, we call them the 90 days of action.
So the 90? The
90 days of action.
Okay, not 100.
Not 100.
Okay.
But as per now, they have reduced. I don't believe that they are...
Even they are below 90.
They are less than 90. Yeah, so for the gallant intellectuals out there, you all know that the time of the tenure of the 88 was first spent with the havoc that was caused. That is effective 15th July.
Yes.
So as for now that we have the 88th government in the picture, with our theme that we are restoring relevance to the Students' Guild, I believe, as one of the cabinet members, that we shall not use the issue of time as an excuse to tell the gallant intellectuals that we have failed to do this because of time. We as the government, we have various projects we have put in our picture, and we want to execute in this shortest tenure. So with those few demands we have, we expect to execute those in this shortest period of time.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are going to expect something, however much we're having a very limited duration.
We have already made it clear for the key issues we have given priority in this government.
Oh, but you can repeat maybe for our viewers. I personally have not seen them, but maybe you actually published, but we request, you know, always repeated communication. There's a way how it communicates deeper. So I request for pardon about them, for our viewers to understand.
Yeah, in some of the things that we have given priority in this 88th government is, first of all, the issue of the closure of Lumumba Hall. It is evident that Lumumba Hall of residency was closed by the administration in the names of renovating it. But you understand the effects of closing Lumumba Hall, that most of the private students were displaced out of Makerere, and priority was only given to government students. So we, as the leaders, see that it beats logic to question why renovation is going on in Livingstone and it can't go on in Lumumba Hall. So are we expecting them to demolish the whole structure and build up another one, or they are going to paint, renovate the walls and stuff? So what we are demanding is that the administration has to start on the activities of renovating Lumumba Hall as soon as possible, because the students who are out there, the private students themselves, you might find that a student, when they was residing in Lumumba Hall, they were paying like 300 for a semester. But accommodation out of Makerere is quite expensive, and for you to get a hostel, it might require you to pay something like 600 and above. And this is a standard that was given to them in quite a shortest period of time to put into consideration. Yes. And most of them are out there suffering. And another thing we also want to talk about is the issue of the social events in this great institution. It is also prudent that the social events were suspended. That was effective after the Freshers' Ball and all the ruckus that was around there. The social events were suspended. But like I told you, that when you have a problem, you just don't ditch it. You sit down on a round table and get a solution for it. So the suspension of social events maybe at that time in particular was relevant. But right now we can't exist in this great institution minus having those social events that bind us together.
But before you proceed, because you have talked about the revival of the social events, but I know what halted the social events in Makerere University. It was because of the hooliganism, the violence of these halls. And you have said that you want to work upon the revival or the process of renovating of Lumumba Hall, and we know Lumumba Hall, what it can do if at all it is about hooliganism. So don't you see that this is a conflict of service? How are you going to deal with this hooliganism? Because it always appears whenever you're having such these social events.
You see, Mr. Chove, you are a journalist, eh?
I am.
And also, personally, I'm also a journalist. When we are disseminating information, you study research methods. You know that we ought to make research and give it out from an informed point of view.
Yes.
Just from the issue that led to the suspension of the social events.
Yeah.
Did management come out with any report showing that it was 100% students that contributed to the havoc that was there?
I don't know whether they came up with it, but I think you were actually on the ground. So what happened?
This is an open space. At least you can attest to that a lot of individuals here come in here and they're not students. So you cannot 100% say that Makerere students are hooligans. Where do you get that from? Where do you get that from? From gates that are open for any individual to come here.
So you want to tell me that the people who made actually this event to flop, we are not 100% students?
No, what I want you to distance yourself from is 100% attributing Makereans to hooliganism. Yet these gates are always open for any other person who might have ill intentions to enter here and distort the events that are happening inside.
Okay. Alright, so what are some of the other things that you are going to execute apart from the Lumumba Hall?
Yes, apart from the issue of the renovation of Lumumba Hall and also the revival of the social events, you know that we are going to have graduation soon. And basing on the history we have with Makerere University and the times towards graduation, there has always been the issue of missing marks and also students missing out on the graduation list.
But that has been an issue since you came here. So should we expect that you're going to work upon it? Or it's just lamentations?
It's not lamentations, but you see, the efforts we as the government put in to see to it that this is erased to the bone. I would not speak for the other governments that failed to ensure that students have the graduation lists, because at the start of it all, this has to be the responsibilities. This has to be the responsibility of the various officials in those offices. We as the students do our role to sit and do exams. So as the lecturers, the examination coordinators and the registrars, they also have to play their role in ensuring that they mark our exams and also ensure that our marks are on the portal. Yes. So that when this time of graduation reaches, each and everything is just good. So we just come in to advocate for what is rightfully ours.
So your role is advocacy, not implementation.
Of course, can you advocate for something you don't want to implement?
Okay, because Anyway, but as we proceed, we come to the evening of this show. I want you to comment about briefly a few things. I know, I think it was a Saturday, 10th December, when you were actually organizing the flopped event of the victory of Mr. Leon's Lawrence Dangote. But what really caused this flop of the event? Why did it flop at the last moment?
First of all, I don't know what you mean by it flopped, because the way I understand the word flopped is just a different one.
So what did happen? What happened basically?
This is an event that was okayed by management, and for God's sake, we have the letters from the DVC ASA allowing us to have this event. We passed through the right offices, and they all accepted us to have this event at North Court. So, but they were telling us that you will have it till 7 p.m.
Because, and before you go into any further, according to what I saw from the administration, that the event was scheduled to take place from 3 p.m. up to 6 p.m. And they are saying that that delay of the service providers you actually ordered for the event caused all these inconsistencies.
The letter says 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's what the letter says.
So did the event happen?
Even before the event happening, you saw the deployment that was around the premises of Makerere. They deployed on all the inlets of Makerere, and also deployed at North Court. It was, I think it was 6:30. It's when police came and told us you cannot continue with this event, even before it started. We accept that we have inconsistencies here and there, because in the terms of organization. But even from the KCCA Act, which okays social events to even exceed 11 p.m., I don't know how you can subject Makererians who have been having events here to a time frame of 7 p.m.
Mr. Honorable, I know, we all know the repression of this tyranny, of this dictatorial regime. So because students are saying that you had an alternative to make this event happen, because I don't know whether you were surprised of what happened at the deployment, the whatever, because even my witnesses across different gates. But that's to me not a surprise. You know that it had to happen. So don't you think that you had an alternative to make this event go successful?
Maybe the alternative you would be talking about is maybe taking the event outside.
I don't know.
Is it?
But according to you,
because we believe that this space is for the gallant intellectuals, and if we have something we want to do, of course we pass through the procedures, because as a society it is structured, and then there are offices which have to okay the event to happen, and we did pass through all these offices. Okay. So I would not go with someone who tells me that you had an alternative of taking it outside. If we saw it fit to have it inside here, why not?
Okay, so as we come to the evening of this show, once again, I want to thank you so much for having given us this courtesy visit into your actually it is a courtesy invitation, not a visit, into your office. Thank you so much. I want you to give us the parting shots, as we call it, Eden.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Chove, and also conclusively to the audience of the Pundits Media. Once again, my name is Kaburam Zafal, and I'm the 88th Guild Minister for Research, Information and Computer Technology. As this government of the 88th, what we intend to do, as our theme goes, is restore relevancy to the Students' Guild. And that is what should be expected from each and every gallant intellectual at Makerere University. From our programs, we have talked about the issue of closure of Mumba Hall with immediate effect. We want management to start laying a brick on what they have promised. And also the issue of social events. We cannot exist in a society whereby we don't associate. We want these social events to be back. The issue of graduation list, we want also the management to ensure that students do not miss out, and also other colleges like the College of Humanities get their marks on the portal. And maybe all other issues that are also going to come into our picture. We welcome all those matters into consideration from the gallant intellectuals. Just don't hesitate when you have an issue, come to the guild offices, we shall always be there. And also personally, as the information minister, I can read out my number to you. It is 070-893-8445. 449. You can reach out to me in case you want anything to be executed in this 88th Guild government. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you so much for that both time you have really given us. We shall be getting in touch with you in case there is anything. Otherwise, I wish you a good day. I remain as Joey John Vianney, the moderator of the Intellectual Buffet on Competency Media. Kindly follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and across different media platforms. Thank you so much, and we wish you good luck.